Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, the Manga Man here, and today we're talking about solo leveling. Chapter 161 has just released in the last half an hour or so this is fairly raw and fairly kind of fresh in my mind right now. But before getting into that, I am conscious I was supposed to do a video on World Trigger and start some new series like Tower of God and Hajime Nepo. That unfortunately has fallen to the wayside. Alas, I will be doing that, but in order to really get into it, I will need to start getting the swing of things. So this is my last day of holidays. I'm back to work tomorrow, so what I'm hoping is tomorrow I can do the catch-up video for World Trigger, and then whatever chapters release, Black Clover, One Piece, get them done, and then try to fit in Hajime no Ippo and hopefully Tower of God as well. But we'll worry about that later. Without further ado, let's get into this review. So, chapter 161 has just come out, and it was a nice surprise. Confusing, but a nice surprise. I had an idea in my mind that Osborne or the Black Heart or the Shadow Monarch would help him get through this encounter, but I didn't see that it go this way. Now, ultimately, what we have to bear in mind is all that this that is happening isn't necessarily him time traveling. It seems to be time travel, but this could be one of those life flashing before your eyes situations where he has to make a decision, and he's either going to go back to that time or get some help from Osborne. So that's the first thing that came to mind when I read that in its entirety now that I'm thinking about it. But if you go through the chain of events, what essentially happens is we see that he has been stabbed by the Beast Monarch, Jin Woo, and the Ice Elf is kind of just mouthing off as he normally does, and we get this notification and it says that the player has died, and this passive skill that hasn't been named unlocks, and it says maximum, and he goes through a list of his skills, and the next thing we know, he's waking up no different than when he first woke up out of the double dungeon. Now first I was kind of thrown for a loop because he has been in hospital before. I believe it was for about 3 days after one of his skirmishes where he just kind of collapsed. So I thought he might have got back to that time, but he has gone back to original time, where the chairman hasn't died yet, and he kind of relives some of that, the testing, the meeting of the chairman, talking about Jeju Island, and what it kind of felt to me like was he was kind of going through the motions. It kind of felt to me like playing a game and you've completed a scenario or the main storyline, and then you have New Game Plus where you can start again from a certain point. It kind of reminded me of that, and the only thing he's missing is the shadows, which are kind of like the key items you need to complete the game. That's kind of what it gave me the vibe of. He's still got his levels, he's still got his skills, but he doesn't have his key items, which is his army, to complete the game again, and he has to go through the process of getting them. That's kind of how it felt to me. It's kind of like he's gone into New Game Plus. Now, being that he's still got his skills, he was able to, scare that executive that had the assassin ability and kind of go through that process. He's kind of talk about Jeju Island, but then when it comes down to it, he keeps getting that notification about restarting the world, and he says, look, why are you doing this illusion? Let's talk, basically. The King of the Undead, and I'm assuming that King of the Undead is going to be one of two things. It's either going to be Osborne himself, the actual Shadow Monarch, who's technically lending his abilities to Sun Jin Woo, or an image of him based on the architect's creation of the system. Because what we've been led to believe up until this point is that this system was created to allow Sun Jin Woo to grow, to test him. And it was an agreement between the Shadow Monarch and the Architect, because we've been told by other monarchs that the Architect is working with Osborne. Now, is this just another illusion? Is this just another test? Is this one of those scenarios where he will kind of, because realistically he has the option to go through the whole journey again, get back to where he would, but stronger, and be in a better position and maybe make some changes along the line. Is that kind of a rewind option he's got there practically. Or this is one of those where do you want to give up, all that's made you where you are, of what's made you to get to this point, to redo it again and change who you'll end up being. And because the restart option might take him back to level 1 and he might need to go through again and do things differently. So it's not clear if he takes a choice what's going to happen, and if he doesn't take that choice what's going to happen. This could be just like it was all just a dream, and next thing he knows he's back there and Osborne chooses to help him, or he goes through that process again and gets there, but he's stronger. Now, one thing I do want to touch on, because that is the encompassing thing about this chapter, I did read a lot on the Reddit where people were talking about how disappointed they are, or how underwhelming the plague monarch Kureshma is. Now, I don't necessarily think she's underwhelming, because ultimately she's stronger than a national, he or she, I don't know if they've got a gender really, is stronger than a national class hero. But I think it's more about how destructive and how impressive the Shadow Monarch's ability is, because they've kind of made it clear that he is really strong. They've kind of made it clear that he is of a similar level to the Dragon King. So I don't necessarily think she's weak. I just think it's a case that the Shadow Monarch's more potent. That being said, pretty straightforward chapter. Interesting turn of events. I can't wait to see what happens next week. I hope you'll see me next time. Thank you for getting to the end. As always, like, comment, share and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.